Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and bishops of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and salutations to beloved prophets and brothers continue to exhort the sheep in these last days. And a mighty shalom to the hopeful elect listening in, to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. Shalom, shalom. The title of this epistle is going to be entitled, O Faithless and Perverse Generation. O faithless and perverse generation. As we continue to endure these times and looking at the generation that we are currently living in, it is continuously growing in perverseness, and it is truly defiled. And scripture says, better is the end of a thing than the beginning of a thing. And as we close out this current age and the totality of the immorality that has befell this culture and this nation and throughout the world, we're looking towards a better and a righteous world where righteousness reigns and just, no longer living underneath the oppressive rule of darkness and those that consume off those tables. Marriages aren't held together and based on godly principles anymore. Children's aren't taught moral behaviors. It's come to a full close. There's perverseness and wickedness everywhere. There's defilement anywhere. And for anyone who has it in themselves to want to continue living in an atmosphere like this, living in a culture, in a nation who shares these values, perverseness, death, it celebrates death here, then there's definitely a lot for those people. Those who are more spiritually in tune with the scriptures and what the fundamental message and what it procures and what it's supposed to deliver is a return back to a moral way of living and behaving and thinking and treating each other. Everyone here is allowed to arm themselves because it's their right to possess a firearm, and they are being used in the most profane and dangerous way. Everyone who steps out their house, they have to think twice whether or not they're moving in the right way. You know, a lot of people may have it in their mind that this may be the last time I exit my house today. That's not a right way to be. The moral fiber of society is totally degraded, and it's a perverse generation. It's a microwave generation. This generation wants everything at its fingertips, and this is where the values of integrity start to decline, because hard work and effort is not valued, but everyone expects a handout. Everyone looks towards other people to solve their problems, their government, their neighbors, everyone else's fault but their own. Self-reflection is something that's not practiced. Everyone looks outward and points the finger and says, it's those people, it's their problem, it's not near us, we don't have to worry about it as long as we don't act like them. We live in a generation of thieves and vipers, perverse and corrupt asp and poison comes out of people's mouth. Everyone proclaims themselves to be wise and carry some level of wisdom, but it's nonsense. They learn it from TV shows. They learn it from the enchanters on the news networks. The degradation of the psyche is beyond medicine. Beyond medicine. And those that have that calling, that opportunity to venture into the Most High Yahweh's word, to receive instruction and correction. It's not just some fairy tale. This is instruction in righteousness, to set yourself apart, to be set apart from the ungodly. This generation, the end of it is truly defiled, and it's going to be weighed into balance and judgment. How you lived, what you did, what you said, how you treated people. The works are all recorded, and they're all going to be accounted and tallied up. And whatever side you fall in the balance of, that will determine whether or not you receive everlasting life, or you are separated and took off and hauled off into the pits of darkness forever and ever. Second Timothy chapter 3, first verse, it says, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come." We've been living in the approaching last days for quite some time, but it's a incline towards the end times events. If you had to chart it out and graph it out, we're itching closer to those times, and the decline of uprightness and moral integrity continues to decline. You can see this in the culture. You know, this is the end result and the behavior of humans who live outside of righteousness. Those who do not wish to be guided by the light are there left in their darkness. So in the last days, perilous times will come, and they're continuing to increase. But as lawlessness and wickedness continues to increase, the judgments are also being implemented and in place. This is what we are warned about in the scriptures, and it's our solemn and chief desire to be led by the Ruach HaKodesh to receive instruction in righteousness, so we are not part of that shaft that gets tossed into the fire, but receive mercy, because this is what the Father promises to those that love him and keep his word and have a sincere and contrite heart. Those that are more quick to listen than to release a word, to be to be part of that lot of sin when you don't heed instructions. It's just balance. Everything he does is just. No matter the age, no matter the race, no matter where you come from, the judgments that go out into the earth, they are all just. 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 2 says, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud." We see this. People are very selfish. They want to build up their own little empires here on earth, and with their own might and energy devise plans to sustain themselves outside of the will of the Most High Yahweh, our power. For he controls all things, and if you live outside of his will, he leaves you up to your devices, in which you will labor in vain. This is what he says, and this is what he declares, because your heart posture, your mindset, your wicked spirit is not focused on him, but is focused on other things. You wake up to strong drink. What can I accomplish today? What can I do for myself? These are the vain imaginations that men and women, especially in these latter times, continuously to think about. If we read about, and we go back into Genesis, he says, the Father knew the thoughts of men, and they were continuously wicked, right? There's no difference in this age here. With this microwave generation, everything handed to them so easily. The economic power that was instilled within this nation here was resources in abundance, and people continue to be a very materialistic and perverse generation. You know, everything's a show. Everything's a show. Outward appearance of success, but inside just chaos. 2 Timothy 3:2 says, for men shall be lovers of their own selves. That's very proudful, very prideful, very, very proudful. You know, they boast about their past accomplishments, who they used to be, and how they used to live, or how they're living now. Covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful and unholy. Unthankful, showing no gratitude. You know, that breath that you wake up with every morning, that's a gift. And it doesn't have to be. There's plenty of people that go out in the sleep, go out with disease, go out with tragedy, and yet we have these vessels fit for dishonor that wake up and don't give account for every breath taken. It's only when tragedy strikes, or when they're at their end's rope, in situations where now suddenly epiphanies start to happen, and they start to self-reflect. But blessed is your eyes and your ears, for you have been called to receive instructions, to be washed up, to stand upright, to keep wisdom. Unlike those self-willed lovers of themselves, have no forethought. 2 Timothy 3:3. Without natural affection, they're desensitized to empathy, apathy. Hearts are wax cold. You know, society is changed to the point where violence has become entertainment. You know, that Roman Greco spirit, bloodshed, thrills individuals. But in the eyes of the Father, it's called violence. It's called death. It's a curse. It doesn't bring forth true joy and life. Without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers. False accusers. Why? Because they don't know what is good and what is bad. Throughout their whole lives, through whatever which way they were brought up, and through the consumption of whatever they were listening to and watching and practicing, their moral compass is now spun around, and what the culture reflects is what they consider upright. But the culture is perverse, and those that are tied to that way of thinking, the beast system. They belong to it and will go out with it. Right? Because he says we are not of this world. We are in this world, but we are not anything of the world. Those who stand on moral principles and have an upright behavior according to the scriptures don't reflect the world. If anything, we feel violated when we have to be a part and partake anything of this world. Unfortunately, for right now, we have to be patient and long-suffering as the Father continues to increase his prophetic promises. 2 Timothy 3 and verse 3 again. Without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good. That good, the despisers of those that are good, this is not a good person. That doesn't mean what it means. If you know what it means. A person that is good is a person that has moral character according to the scriptures. Everything that a person is walking in based on the scriptures, this is a person that is seen as good in the Father's eyes. A person that practices law, statutes, and commands. A person that is separated and holy and continues to behave and think holy and has holy behaviors. These are despised. These are those that are despised. Just like the Messiah. He was pure and he was despised because he was not part of that society, that way of living, that way of thinking. He was hated. As his followers will be hated and should be hated. If you're not hated, you reflect and mirror the world. If you are something of an outcast and you don't fit in anywhere, and everywhere you go, you seem to be the problem, you might find yourself being more of what the Bible describes as having integrity. You don't care to sit in the congregation of the wicked and blasphemers. 2 Timothy 3 and verse 4, traitors. There's people that betray their marriages. There's people that do all kind of perverse things with their neighbors, to their neighbors, lie, steal, make up false accusations, call them all kind of manner of wickedness. Traitors, heady, high-minded. They're so proud. They think they have it all figured out. And the wisdom of this world is foolishness with the Most High Yahweh power. Wisdom only lies within the scriptures. True wisdom is found in this book here. Everything outside of the Holy Scriptures, the Hebrew manuscripts, is a watered down version of what came from the scriptures. Everything. Those stoic phrases that were published in Greece and Rome and beyond that all came from the Holy Scriptures. Everything that is thought to be wisdom today is a watered down version of what comes from the Scriptures. Everything that is stood on as wisdom outside is just perverseness, false philosophy. It doesn't have the full context, the strength of righteousness. Traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures, more than lovers of the Most High Yahweh power. You know, you take something away from these people and those go crazy. You know, I've seen it with children. You take their video away and beware, you better have a bulletproof vest on. That's crazy. You know, you hear how the perverseness of this generation, they cry about all their things. You know, the gas prices. How am I going to fill up my $20, $30, $40, $50,000 car? They don't consider to get a bike or walk. hey, you know, there's still public transportation too. You know, you don't have to, you know, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of the Most High Yahweh power. Unthankfulness, ungrateful, lacking gratitude, having a form of godliness, having a form of it, just like that zeal, you know. But those that are locked in and putting on righteousness, you're given the eye salve and that strength of discernment to see and pierce right through those spirits. With that being said, we'll finish up real quick. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such turn away. For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead silly captive women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts. With that, I bid you shalom.